Welcome everyone. I'm really excited to teach this lesson because my boys really need it and I really hope it helps you also. So let's dive in. We are talking about collective nouns. Do you remember what a collective noun is? A collective noun, when you're using a word and it's acting as one thing. So like a herd of elk, a group of people, a school of fish.
Flock of birds.
Oh, a flock of birds. So those are collective nouns. And it's super important that you recognize when you see them. Why does that matter? Why is it so important that we recognize when we see them? It's because you have to make sure that you're using the correct verb with it. Okay? So most of the time, they're going to take the singular. And so you need to make sure you're going to use a singular verb. So you need to make sure you recognize them and understand them. There's lots and lots of collective nouns out there. I only brought in a few of this lesson. You can study them on your own. And it's important that you do that. Okay, so if you're struggling if you think, oh, this is a collective noun, am I using this correctly? If you put a word in there and it's used instead of the collective noun, then you can see, is this going to fit properly? So you can use a word that's very similar to the collective noun, and that's how you can see, am I using the right verb with this? Am I using it correct? Collective nouns can take the singular or the plural. We mostly see them with animals and people in groups, and they're considered as one, right? We're considered as one big thing. You can have hundreds, you can have 5, you can have whatever, but it's considered as one group. And then if it's considered as one, it's going to take the singular. Now, most collective nouns take the singular, which take the singular verb. They agree as an individual, as one, as unison. Remember, uni it means one, right? It's in unison. When you talk in unison, you're speaking as one. And so, since the subjects and the verbs need to agree, let's look at this. Now we're looking at cuts, cooks, eats. This is a singular verb sitting in the simple present third person. Remember, this is conjugated and you have your plural S's on. So when you are sitting in the simple present tense, this is really when you really need to pay attention to your collective nouns, because when they are sitting in the plural or when they're sitting in the past or the future, you don't even have to worry about. You need to worry about them when they're in the present. How are you going to use them? Because remember, in the future, your verbs don't change. You just use the same verbs. Where do we change?
Present.
In the present. And so that's when you need to make sure that you are using your collective nouns properly. So, cut, cook, eat. This is plural. It looks singular, but it's plural. This looks plural, but it's singular. So this goes with a singular noun. And these both can be used with the collective nouns. But you have to make sure you're doing it correctly. You can't just use either. There is a rule that you need to make sure that you know. There's a rule, you have to use them correctly. When you're using this, the S's in the simple present, it hits in third person when you're using the S on there. Where you really need to be careful with collective nouns are when you are needing to connect the subject and the verb agreement in the present. So be very careful that you're making sure that you are connecting those right in the present. Now, do we have present perfect and present progressive? We do. So these we've mostly just focused on the progressive and the simple tense. So we're only going to focus on that. And this is how you would use it when you are connecting that right. You are going to do am cutting, am cooking, am eating. This is the singular progressive. It's in first person. Now remember, when you are using your auxiliary verbs and you are using the progressive tense, then that's what you really need to focus. First, second, and third person, right? When you are doing your collective nouns, you really need to focus third person. And then obviously the plural. Is cutting, is cooking, is eating is singular progressive, but in the third person. See how this one, if you're using am, it's in the first person. So make sure that you use your correct auxiliary verb. Are cutting, are cooking, are eating, that's the plural progressive. And I'm not putting the person on here because it doesn't matter when you're in the plural. It doesn't change. It changes when it's in the singular. Okay, watch this. Collective nouns take plural verbs if they are acting as different individuals. Do you see that, Paul? Okay, I'm going to read that again. Collective nouns take plural verbs if they are acting as different individuals. So if you have a collective noun that is acting separate in your sentence, then it needs to take the plural verb. So here's some examples. Sitting at the front of the room, the impoverished and depleted panel of rescuers flopped unbelievably on their chairs while waiting to report about the miraculous find of the 2-year-old child. Now, what is your collective noun in this big old long sentence? Panel. Nice job. So this right here, what's your verb that goes with that? Are we using the singular or the plural? Are we using the singular or the plural on there? Where's your verb?
Flops.
Nice. So, are we using the singular or the plural right there?
The singular.
Okay, what tense is it?
Simple.
Simple.
Present.
Present.
Singular.
Singular. Okay. Now in this sentence, the panel, they are all sitting in front of the room and they're all like being exhausted because they had just searched for the missing child and they found the child, and they're so relieved and so exhausted from the find that we're using it singular. This is taking the singular verb. All right. See, so this is when you have to be careful. Simple present and when it sits in the singular. All right. And your collective nouns are going to be what person? Third person. Do you see that? And so you're going to really need to make sure that you are using the correct third person. So see, like right here, you're going to not have to worry about the am with collective nouns, are we?
No.
No. So you need to really make sure that you're using them in third person right there. That's where you're going to have to be really careful, is with your third person. Don't try to get them mixed up, okay? Doesn't this sound goofy? The panel am. Now, also, the panel can be lots of different things. So we have prepositional phrases. Rescuers right here, that's not your subject. It looks like your subject, but that's the object of the preposition. So you're not looking at rescuers that flop. The rescuers are flopping, but it's the panel that's your subject. You need to connect your subject and your verb. This is not your subject. And that's where so many people get confused, that they're looking at the prepositional phrase and they're matching the preposition. So a lot of people might say the panel of rescuers flop unbelievably on their chairs. But that's wrong because we are not looking at rescuers as being plural because that's not the subject. What do we match it with?
You match it with
The verb and the subject need to match. The verb and the subject need to match. After reporting about the miracle, the panel visit, cry, laugh, hug, pray, and find solitude with the community. Now what are we doing? We have panel, right? Is it taking the singular or the plural?
The plural.
It's taking the plural here. Why? The panel, they're not all just sitting there doing one thing together. Now they're off with the other people in the community and they're visiting spread apart. They're crying with each other. They're laughing with different people. They're hugging people in the group and praying with people. And some might just want to go off and be by themselves because they just need a time to be quiet. And so because they're all spread out and doing different things, that means it's taking the plural verb. These are all plural. The choir sings so beautifully. Is the choir all together singing at once? This is your collective noun. Sings, right here, is your singular verb. When it's acting as one group, as a unison, then it's going to take the singular. After the concert, the choir mingled with the audience and enjoyed their surroundings. That's your collective noun, right?
Yep.
And what's your verb?
Mingle.
Mingle. And what else?
Enjoy.
Enjoy. Are these singular or plural?
Those are both plural.
These are plural. These are plural. Why? Can you guys see why?
Isn't audience a subject as well?
This is a prepositional phrase. I was trying to save space with the audience. So this is the object of the preposition. So mingled with the audience, they go together. What tense are these in? Simple, present, plural. Simple, present, plural. Simple, present, plural. That's where you need to make sure that you're understanding that correctly. There's no S on there. The reason why is because now the choir isn't functioning as one group. Now look, they're out mingling with the audience and enjoying separate things in their surroundings. This is plural here and it's taking the plural verbs. So make sure that you're understanding how to use that. Follow the rule when using these correctly. So in the younger lessons, we really focused on collective nouns taking the singular and we didn't focus really on the plural part of it. Now that we're in the older group, most of the time it's going to take the singular, right? But now we're going to discuss, because it's much harder to figure out when it's taking the plural. And so I want you guys to understand, how do you make it, how do you have a collective noun take the plural? Okay, so here are some examples of collective nouns. So we have people, animals, and things. For people, you could do, and there's so many out there, and they can match. They can be under people and animals. They go together in different things. We have an army. An army of what? Army of soldiers. A band.
A choir.
So the band, right? We can have the band. The choir, people that sing. These band plays instruments. Class.
People that learn.
Okay, so class of students. The congregation at church, right? Your congregation, you typically relate that to church. A crowd. So now we have a crowd of people, a group of people, a host of people, a party of people, a team of people, a team of players, party animals.
Like a soccer team?
Yeah, exactly, a swim team. Very good. So we have animals. Look, army of ants, a herd of elk, a herd of deer, a school of fish. Brood of birds, a mob of emus. Or emus, this is birds found in Australia. They're actually the bird right underneath, they're the second largest bird in the world. What's the largest bird?
Eagle.
The ostrich.
Oh.
And so it falls underneath the ostrich. A flock of birds, a pack of wolves, a swarm of bees. So, and there's lots and lots. And see how some of them connect? And you can, now things, basket, a basket of apples, a batch, a bouquet.
Ants.
It can. You can. That's why oftentimes you're going to see prepositions with these because it's telling you what they are. It's a swarm of what? What are they?
Ants.
Right? So it's a swarm of what? Okay, and then we have a bunch of bananas, a collection of rocks, a fleet of what? Boats.
Plants.
A forest of trees, a group of
Apples.
okay, library of
Books.
a necklace
Huh? What?
of pearls, an outfit, an orchard of
Ooh, a necklace of chains.
okay,
Of trees.
orchard of
Trees.
trees. It could be of cherry trees, of apple trees, of peach trees, right?
Orchard.
So they need to know an orchard of what?
Grape.
A pack. Collective nouns, boys, right here. They're often followed by prepositions, and most of the time you're going to see them with the word of. And it establishes the people, the animals, the things, like a flock of geese, a group of rocks, a herd of elk, class of children, school of fish. They will have prepositions to explain what the collective noun actually is. Now, your collective noun is the subject. If you're using it as a subject, sometimes they'll sit in another noun position in the sentence, but it's still a noun, okay? But where you really need to be careful with it is when you are using it as the subject. If you're using it in another noun position, you don't have to be as careful because that's where you're saying, oh, well, is it taking the singular or is it taking the plural? Or if you're writing your sentences, you need to know how to match those up correctly. Now, my sister found the set of dishes she inherited from my mother, which she did. She did find her a really beautiful set of dishes. So what is this? My sister found the set. What position is this sitting in?
Noun.
It is sitting in the noun position, but what?
Collective.
As the direct object. So see how, since it's sitting in the direct object position right here, then it doesn't really matter. It's sitting in the direct object position, and so you don't need to worry, oh, is my subject and verb matching? It doesn't matter. Because this is a noun position in somewhere else. You only need to worry about it if it's your subject and your verb. And then of dishes is describing the set. Now, some more examples. A flock of sheep. So we are God's flock of sheep. So what do you have here? What's flock here? Flock is a predicate nominative. Of sheep is describing flock. So right here, we do not even need to worry about it when it's sitting in one of those noun positions. So now a galaxy of stars. God owns the galaxy of stars. Do we have to worry about the galaxy right here? Whether it's subject or plural? No, because we're using it right here as what position?
Direct object.
It's a direct object, okay? So this is a direct object, so you don't have to worry about it. But you still, look, of stars, your collective noun still has the preposition, so it knows what it's talking about. Look, a crowd of people. God loves crowds of people. This one right here is sitting in what noun position?
Direct object.
So this is your direct object position. What's receiving the love? God's love. Who's receiving God's love? The crowds of people are receiving God's love. So see how we have our prepositions describing our prepositional phrases acting as adjectives describing our nouns. Remember, it is a noun with people, right? Oftentimes we're going to see our nouns with people. Find the correct collective noun. Make sure you find the correct collective noun. Now we do obviously have collective nouns and animals and things, obviously, but I want you to remember how to really find them with people. For collective nouns, boys, make sure you get it correct. Make sure you're understanding how to make your subject and your plural verbs work. Your subject and your singular verbs work. What do collective nouns take the most?
Singular.
Singular. So that is important. We mostly talked about that in the past, but now we're teaching you how to take the plural. Now, let's just go over some quick spelling rules that we've gone over in the past, but I feel everybody needs a refresher on these. The Q always has a U following it. For example, queen. Look, it always has that U. You need to remember that. The J and the V do not end words. So if you want to hear the J sound at the end of a word, you spell it with a G-E. If you want it to say G, you spell it with a G-Y. And you hear that J sound because you are following it with an E-I or a Y. Yeah?
What if you wanted to sound, end it with the sound of a V?
Well, it will sound, oh, I like how you asked that question. If you want the V sound at the end, then you spell it V-E. But it can't just be a V. V's are not allowed to end words. So this E will be silent almost on every word if you end it with the V sound. Okay, I before E except after C. I've capitalized these so you can see them really well. So make sure that you are understanding that. That will be with vowel teams right here. Words that end with F and EF sometimes change to V when adding plural ES. Can you guys think of a word?
Elves.
Oh, elves.
Lied.
So elf and elves. Right? See how this F switched to a V when we added the ES to make it plural. All right, change the Y to an I when adding on an ES if it is a consonant plus a Y. Can you guys think of a word? How about fly? Fly. And then you change the Y to an I, I-E-S. But how about play?
Nope.
Can we do that? No, because this is not a consonant. We don't change vowel teams, and that's what that is. How to change singular nouns to plural nouns. Let's talk about that. When you're just adding an S to the base word, think of a base word when just adding an S. Word chair. You just add it on. It's that simple. And this noun becomes plural. It's so simple. The reason why people get confused with this is because the S on the verb is super confusing. But nouns are very easy. You just add it on. If you have something physical that you can touch, you know you can just add it on. But when you're adding an ES to words ending with an S, an SH, a CH, an X, or a Z, you have to do ES. Can you guys think of a word?
Eyes.
Eyes? Now E-Y-E. I is your plural, and you're just adding an S on.
Yeah, sorry.
But how about grass? Can you see that with me here, Daniel? If you do grass, if I say, if I just add the plural S on, it just says grass, right? You can't hear it, so you have to do the ES. You can't hear it with an SA, grasses. Glasses.
Classes work as well.
Yeah, and the classes worked as well too. Okay, so you just add the es because you can't hear it. You can't hear it with the sh very well, with the ch very well. You can't hear it. You know how you were, you can't hear it with the x because why? It ends in an s.
It sounds like it.
It's the exact same sound. And you can't hear z because look, eyes, there's so many s's that end in with the z sound. So you can't hear it. Our suffixes. It's really important that you study your suffixes, know how to spell them, know what they mean. And so here are some of the main suffixes that get added on to base words. Able, ij, ol. So see how these right here turn to schwa. Able, ij, except for this one. This is ij. Ol, uns, this one turns to and sometimes it'll say r, but most of the time if it's a suffix it'll say it or ate, ed, en, ents, s, est, which means the most, which people get this one completely confused often, et, full, hood, ibble, ik, ing, ish, ist, that gets confused with est, right? Ist, it, or ite, it could be either one, is, or eyes, less, li, meant, ness, us, shun, shun, and e or I. This can say either or. Most of the time it'll say e. That's it for this lesson. We'll see you in the next lesson. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.